Good evening. I'm Brian Reagan. This is
Tyler Kelly.
And we welcome you to our Twilight Talks. And tonight, there we go. Tonight we are in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 through chapter 7, verse 7. And Tyler, if you will, if you'll take 14 through the end of 6, and then I'll take chapter 7 down through verse 7.
Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion has light with darkness? And what accord has Christ with Belial? Or what part is a believer with the unbeliever? And what agreement has the temple of God with idols? For you are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Therefore, come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Do not touch what is unclean, and I will receive you. I will be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty.
Since we have these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from every defilement of body and of spirit, making holiness perfect in the fear of God. Make room in your hearts for us. Make room in your hearts for us. We have wronged no one, we have corrupted no one, we have taken advantage of no one. I do not say this to condemn you, for I said before that you are in our hearts, to die together and to live together. I often boast about you, and I have great pride in you. I am filled with consolation. I am overjoyed in all of our affliction. For even when we came into Macedonia, our bodies had no rest, but we were afflicted in every way, disputes without and fears within. But God, who consoles the downcast, consoled us by the arrival of Titus, not only by his coming, but also by the consolation with which he was consoled about you, as he told us of your longing, your mourning, your zeal for me, so that I rejoiced still more. Now, a couple things going on here. That last section, verses 2 through 7, is dealing with the struggles that Paul and the Corinthian church had, and they're moving back together. They're getting to a better place. But the passage that Tyler read and down through chapter 7, verse 1, and go on ahead and read 7:1 real quick, Tyler.
Therefore, having these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. All
right. That is actually the concluding thought of what started in chapter 6 and verse 13, 14 right there. And his question is a valid question. And it goes far beyond business dealings or anything like that. What agreement, what unity does Jesus have with the devil? How is it that light and darkness get along together?
They don't.
Yeah. And so, with what's been going on in Corinth, some of their attitudes towards Paul, towards each other, it's not been what it should be. Some of their actions in their personal lives, not what it should be. And Paul's encouragement to them is, you have a set of promises that are better than things you're hoping for in this life. So get things on track with the promises. And, we've been talking about that in church lately. The promises. Get the promises in your head. Keep them in front of you. And then you know why you're doing what you're doing. And there's hope in that, there's motivation, there's joy, there's peace. But if you don't have the promises in mind, honestly, there's part of the Christian life that's just flat miserable. Because and I'm going to say this, people in church don't like when I say it, sin is far more enjoyable as far as the flesh, it's far more pleasurable than the Christian life. If you live the Christian life the way most people do, which is, I don't want to go to hell. Everything will be better when I get to heaven. So I'm just going to hang on here and not quit. Wow. I mean, if you can stick that out and get to heaven, then yeah, you're right. It's better than hell. But as far as this world, this life, what? I don't know about you, man. What do you think?
What? Sin?
Just barely hang on, because you don't want to go to hell.
I don't like that idea.
And, it'll all be good when we get to heaven. But till then, we just hope it's not totally miserable.
No.
So what value does promise have? And I'm just asking you, when you think about the promises of God, what benefit is there towards you, brother?
It gives you something to strive for.
Okay. And, another part of it is,
Striving means you're not trying to just fade in by the skin of your teeth.
okay, if, and this is how you would know whether or not you had a quality team. Back when the Super Bowl was something that the whole country enjoyed, right? If a coach could have walked into a team and said, I guarantee you that if you do exactly what I tell you, we can win 5 Super Bowls in a row, back to back. What kind of team would go, nah, we don't really believe or trust you? And I think of one team that almost pulled off 4 in a row, and that was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. They went back to back, skipped a year, and then went back to back again. And they just barely missed that middle year.
The sad part is I can actually tell you what years those were.
Yes, I can too.
Because I remember who the bookends were.
And I think of one other team that came very close themselves, San Francisco 49ers, during the Joe Montana era.
The next decade.
The next decade. And then we don't talk about those people from Foxborough.
Yes, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that because they
enjoy talking about other things they've done.
Yes.
It happened at the same time.
But if you knew, or for those of you who are my SEC fans, if the coach were to say to an incoming group of freshmen, if you do everything I tell you for the next 4 years, you'll be 4 years in a row SEC champs. What would those young men be willing to pay in order to have that?
They want that scholarship to that school.
Yeah. But if they didn't believe the promise, if they didn't know the promise that coach had made, if they didn't tell the next group coming in of that promise, then what might happen to morale? See, that's why he makes a point, because we have these promises. Promises and promise. And the key is the ability to deliver on it. God can deliver on his promises, never fails. So with that, we bid you good night. Tyler, when we're going to see him again?
We're going to see them this Sunday at 9:30 Eastern Time at the Lake Butler Church of Christ in Lake Butler, Florida, either on our live stream or in person, and then at 10:30 for our morning worship services, also live stream or in person.
All right, till then.